We're alive. Welcome to the Renegade podcast. I'm your host, Dashing Rogue, and with my frequent psychic artistic layman.
Everyone is being too nice. Obviously, it must be a lie. I can sense they are planning to kill me. But when? How? I must be prepared.
The fuck is that from?
Has Been Hotel, the official TV version. Amazon version.
Oh, we're going to talk about that tonight, aren't we?
If you want.
No, I mean, like, let me just say this. Two people, fans of the show, have told me to have asked me to give my 2 cents on this, because there is something to be said here, but at the same time, can we see the forest for the trees on this? Okay, because I have my own personal opinion, but the main video of discussion that I was told that they want to talk about, they want us to understand and look into, was this one right here from the Beanie Baby himself.
Tim Pool.
Tim Pool, yeah, Tim Pool.
He decided to go off on a little tangent, did he?
He decided to go spurg out a bit. You could put this in.
I get why he does. It's his job. That's what he does.
So let's watch this. Okay, there we go.
Fantastical ideas for all of.
Skipped ahead. Let's see.
So there's a new show coming out on Amazon called Has Been Hotel, and I've watched some of the materials. I've watched a little bit of a pilot episode. It's got 92 million views on YouTube, and it's generating some buzz because more religious individuals, I'm not saying every single person, but there's some controversy around the premise of the show. That is to say, the show venerates demons. They actually use a premise based in...
Does it, though?
No, it doesn't. In fact, let me say this. This is coming from a Catholic. This is coming from the people who create gargoyles and shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can have stories about the devil. I mean, Christian, like, just because if you can see the freaking, the iconography to the left, they will take advantage of it. Okay. So some of this stuff that's in here, the subtext behind it absolutely is leftist. But the problem,
they rewrote the whole mythology to turn it into like a Marxist idea where, Lilith's involved, the devils, and like the devil is just a little prankster who accidentally caused evil to exist. And as far as I can tell, God doesn't exist. I haven't seen the last 2 episodes, but
Lilith is a fucking spinster, dude. She's like she's like the goddess of spinsters, or the arch devil of fucking spinsters.
Have you seen her in the show or no? I don't know if she exists in the show yet.
I don't know if she exists in the show, but I'll tell you...
Lilith and Lucifer are a couple, and the main character is their daughter, who's a lesbian. Which isn't really the focus of the story, she just happens to be a lesbian.
There we go.
And then we could go off on a tangent about the $50,000 fan service erotica about her.
So apparently... Okay.
But I'm getting ahead of myself. Focus on this first. Let's focus on Tim.
Let's focus on this.
Yes.
Religious Abrahamic biblical teachings corrupts them, as a lot of modern things do, and basically creates this premise where Lucifer was a playful trickster who was thrown out of heaven because he just wanted to have a good time, but the angels wanted order. So they cast him out, and then, Lucifer goes down to Lilith. Yeah, Lilith, not Eve. Lilith, the first wife of Adam. Lilith, of course, was cast out because she would not listen to the man. That's literally what they say. And then Lucifer's like, here's knowledge. And they become demons, and then, heaven's all pissed off. And so the show is, I would say, a corruption of biblical teaching. It's an obvious thing. It's a fictionalized show that uses biblical teaching to create characters, casts many demons in positive lights. But I think we should break down what this show is. I find all of it very interesting. This show is not generating...
Well, let's break it down. Let's break it down, yeah. Because here's the thing. Ever since the French Revolution, I'd say... when all the people who were sided with God were on the right, and then everyone else who was what was it? The people who were siding with the state were on the left, all the atheists and rationalists and all that.
Yeah, the people who supported the Quran were on the right, and the people who wanted to break free from it were on the left, and that was the whole start of the whole left-right dichotomy that has existed to this present day.
Yep, and it's also spiritual in nature. And, what is the claim, right? Propagandists are actively making movies to promote veneration of powerful demons. Oh, I would say powerful eidolons is the best way to describe those things, because these things are no longer demons. I mean, they're angels to some, devils to others, right? And we're going to get into that, all right?
Well, depending on who you ask, there are technically archons. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have to throw off. We're just gonna kill them all like God sorting out. That's how I do it.
Oh, okay. Are these magazines or are these like books? What is this?
We're gonna get into it. We're gonna just continue. Let Tim Pool represent the side that the right wing, let's say.
Right.
Let's the milks. Well, let me just say this. He's a milquetoast fence spitter, but if you are lukewarm, I shall spit you out, son. Go on.
There's not a bunch of Christians and Catholics condemning it. There's just some commentary talking about whether it's appropriate for kids, whether it will incidentally attract kids to learn the wrong things about the Bible or create misconceptions. And I think the bigger picture here is that this is popular. It's got 92 million views. The creator on YouTube makes a bunch of these cartoons that are really well made and get tens of...
Which are much better than... I mean, the premise of Hell of a Boss is much better than this one. Although, it's kind of slid back because they focus on the relationships too much now.
Well, that's because they have to they have to do the shipping. They have to ship, Angel Dust with the radio demon, right? They have to. And then there's also that...
I mean, in Hell of a Boss, they're just hammering on this whole dynamic of the gay prince is in love with the peasant. And it's like, oh, okay, we get it, you're in love, and now we have to do the whole dynamic with this higher demon being in love with the Beetlejuice demon, the clown Beetlejuice demon. It's like, yeah, bore me. Get to the action. Get some fun stuff. Like, we're watching a show. There's like the one episode where the demons slaughter all the human military people. That's the interesting stuff. But no, we have to focus on that stuff now.
Well, here's the thing that this is why I think that the whole has-been hotel thing is gonna fail, is because the patrons who originally tried to get, let's say, the original premise, right? Well, what was the original premise? There wasn't a purge. They never said where the purge was. We didn't even know it was caused by heaven, right?
Well, in the original pilot, they still talk about that. That's where the idea came from.
Yeah, but
Has-Been Hotel, they kind of act like that doesn't really happen because they don't really focus on that part.
Yeah, they don't, and the reason why is because this is agitprop, and it's Marxist agitprop. That's what I'm really trying to get down to here. It is, and you can see it, because here's the thing. Oh, would you just are a bigot. You're just pissed off because Lilith wanted to be on top. I'm not kidding. That's actually one of the arguments, was that the patriarchal man wants to be on top all the time, and he wants to fuck the cute little Jew girl, right? What? Lilith was a Jew. You can laugh all you want.
The show doesn't say that, but I'll take your word for it.
Well, she's from Midrash. She's from Jewish mythology, quite literally in this regard. I mean, she comes from the scriptures, based on the assumption that every single scripture that is written is the literal word of God. This is where we get the 7-day creationist shit, and this is where we get into the idea that God created man, both male and female, and then he creates Eve, right? So there's the assumption that Adam had his first wife, and I'm thinking to myself, that is way too that's a modernist take. The shit that they're doing with this, the left is pushing, is borderline the equivalent of saying, let's break up Han and Leia so we can have like drama. What it is, it's fucking J.J. Abrams' version of the Old Testament. Let's keep going.
Millions of hits, and people are watching this stuff. So the big takeaway from a show like this, that basically, as they say, venerates demons, a lot of movies do, don't get me wrong, I think that the point here is, if you want to counter this and produce content that you think would do good things, you have to make good content, and you can't just sit here and complain about it. You need to push... Although,
to be honest, this stuff would have been really cool and edgy like 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but now it's just like, blech.
Honestly, like, I supported it originally, and I still do. I mean... Like, let me say this, I'm not going to buy it. Like, I have Amazon Prime, and I could theoretically watch this. I don't want to watch it. I really don't, so I ignore it, right? But I can't deny the fact that there is some subversive elements in here, and we're going to go over some of it today, in more depth. That way people understand what we're dealing with here, because this is agitprop. It's not necessarily, demonic agitprop. You have to see the forest for the trees here. I don't think Christians can, though. I don't think that they're prepared to be able to separate the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. Keep going. Play it.
Back and win the culture war. Now, I have this tweet here from Kryptos. I found it very interesting because he tweeted, "The propagandists are now actively making movies to promote the veneration of powerful demons, in this case Lilith, the patron demon of feminism. Corporations like Amazon and its media arm Prime are working with the devil. They are the enemy." I don't think it's the most important story in the world, but I do think it's rather interesting. What does it mean? Well, let me play for you the trailer, and I will comment and critique it. But I will start off by saying, Sound of Freedom is not only available on Prime, it is actively promoted on Prime. So I was at a hotel or something, it might have been Airbnb, and there was a hotel, and they had Prime available, because I've been trying to watch Yu Yu Hakusho anime, And I turned it on and Sound of Freedom. I'm like, this is awesome.
Fuck, dude, I don't know what it is about all the fucking stoners and like, I guess, Gator kids, I guess it would be. But why are they all like Yu Yu Hakusho? You ever notice that? There's like a certain demographic of people who really like Yu Yu Hakusho enough to actually go up and pick it up and watch it again. Like, there's certain things that I'm nostalgic, and I don't want to like watch it because I don't want to have my nostalgia destroyed by
Looking back on now, I do kind of get Yu Yu Hakusho does hit a particular demographic. I mean, the way it's made and the way it's presented, I mean, it's kind of immortalized in the way it was created with the art style and the animation style of the time. And there is a certain
absolutely,
and there is a certain and the whole notion of the teenagers going off and the rebellious, angry teenager who establishes himself by his own assertion, and there's the whole dynamic of him. It's just so appealing. I get why a certain demographic likes him.
No, don't get me wrong. I like it as well. It's just that I don't know. I don't know. I mean, in a lot of ways, he was a shonen, but he had more in common with Chainsaw Man. Like, I like Chainsaw Man, so I can't bash him for it. I just noticed that there's a certain demographic of people that really like Yu Yu Hakusho enough to like watch it again. I don't know what. Again, call me what I'm not hating on the show. I just noticed it. Keep playing, Luke.
Although Yu Yu Hakusho does have an enduring quality, especially in the first episode, where the main character realizes that people actually like him because he just spends his whole life thinking everybody hates him.
He has the benefit of dying another day, so to speak, and he gets to reflect on what he sees in the people he encounters. I don't know.
Freedom actively promoted. I don't think Amazon saw this cartoon and thought, "Ooh, Satan and Lucifer, let's venerate demons." And I think taking this approach is actually going to be detrimental to the right and to those who want to give better messages to young people.
These demons are like punk. They're like punk, dude.
And there's truth to that, because we do the same thing of overreacting. Like this kind of argument. I see that a lot of Christians, or at least Christian in media commentaries, are using the same arguments that the boomers used way back in like 30 years ago. Like, oh, this is normalizing this and normalizing that. But with the age of the internet, that's kind of like we're on a whole different level. I mean, critiquing that just makes that. And Tim is going to make that point. He kind of does make that point. I do kind of agree with that sentiment.
It is, and this is why if you watch the film, I would actually like to watch with you sometime, and just start pulling out Easter eggs, like going after the hidden Mickeys of hell. No, I'm serious. Like, I think that would be an interesting way of critiquing it. It'd be free content. We could show people where we get the iconography, and I could talk about it. And there's going to be some here he's going to show, and we'll talk about that also. Keep going.
Person who would find themselves as like atheists or whatever, they're not going to watch this and care at all about it. But I will say this: Christianity is having a hard go of it when shows like this misrepresent what the Bible's actually trying to teach people, and this will be the basis by which many people form their beliefs around these religions. I hear these complaints a lot, or conspiracy theories. They say that the Hollywood and the government's a conspiracy, by the way. They say Men in Black, for instance. They make these movies so that if you ever tried to actually tell someone that it happened, they would believe you. Let me give you a better example. After 9/11, there are people who reported that they were like lying in I think one person said they were lying in a hospital bed after being injured. They had witnessed things, and Men in Black showed up and told them they saw nothing and to shut it. And of course, the Men in Black doesn't mean alien fighting superstars. It meant guys in suits from an undisclosed intelligence agency were saying, don't repeat what you saw for national security reasons. And of course, they could be FBI. It could be Pentagon intelligence. Men in Black doesn't mean aliens or anything like this, but the conspiracy theory goes, they make a movie called Men in Black, because then, when you say, some Men in Black showed up and threatened me, they go, oh, jeez, you're a nut job. That was a movie.
Yeah, the G-Man came that got you. It was the G-Man, quite literally, in this regard. The G-Man of Colombia,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those people. Keep going.
Or Black Mesa.
I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying some people claim these things. Now, let's play this trailer, and I'm sure a lot of Christians will get angry about it, and I think so, because the way it misrepresents.
What generation of Christians is he talking about, though?
I think he's talking about the millennials, because because that's one of the things I like about it. This is an accurate depiction of hell. It is like again, and here's the thing: as a Christian, I'm not against the depictions of hell. In fact, it's a very good. I like the fact that everyone's a drug addict and a coke addict, because those are the people who would gleefully walk right into perdition. Those are the type of people who would be heroin addict in hand and fucking. They literally would be smackheads, and I think one of them is a smackhead. I don't know. I don't know. Keep going.
That's the biblical teachings. Let's play.
Once upon a time, there was a glowing city protected by golden gates, known as heaven. It was ruled by beings of pure light, angels that worshipped good and shielded all from evil.
All right, see those things? Those are biblically accurate angels, by the way.
Let me get that on the screen here.
Those are biblically accurate fucking angels. We're talking like seraphim. And by the way, look at Look at the different wings on them, right?
Wheels within wheels and wings for their heads and their arms and their legs.
They're like a Old Testament version of Bill Cipher.
Yeah,
That makes
before
sense.
Sephiroth ruined all that.
No, Bill Cipher, the fucking guy from the little Illuminati Dorito guy from fucking Gravity Falls.
Right.
He's probably in on this too. Just to let you know.
Well, he's
I mean,
an Illuminati pyramid, so I'm not sure if that's similar.
He's a G man, dude. He's the fucking G. He works for the G. Keep going.
Took to good and shielded all from evil. Lucifer was one of these angels. He was a dreamer with fantastical ideas for all of creation, but he was seen
Fuck
as
off,
trouble
tuxedo mask. Fucking tuxedo mask looking motherfucker. There's a reason why they're called witches. Why magical girls are called witches. I'm just saying.
Felt his way of thinking was dangerous to the order of their world. So he watched as the angels began to expand the universe in their ways, from the dust of
There's so much story elements I want more information about. Like, so the angels are creating the universe? What's going on here?
Well, you have to remember, Yahweh was just an angel. And that's how, the idea that all angels are gods and all gods are angels, they're not, the idea that God has a bunch of secret agents, on his side, a bunch of, a battalion of like, archangels and shit, and Sephiroth protecting him, and he's separate from that, right? That's a relatively new concept. I'm trying. I like even freaking Hermes was the messenger of the gods. He had fulfilled that role, so he has the same concept here. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Keep going.
Earth, they created Adam and Lilith.
Okay, so I'll pause right there, and we'll talk about why people are upset first. The angels did not create Adam and Lilith, and certainly Lilith, I don't even believe is actually a part of biblical teachings. But I'm not some religious expert.
He's Midrash.
The trailer is basically saying the established order is not all good, and trying to keep out this person's ideas. Oh, how could they?
Yeah, it's very Gnostic without the demiurge.
No. Like here, Luke. Here you go, Luke. This is what it is. If you really want to know what this could be called, it's agitprop. You can play this for me.
This?
Behold the viewing glow.
I'm routinely chastised, well, not really, but reminded that I used the word agitprop without fully explaining it, and that is fair criticism. Now, I assume that everyone knows what I mean, but then I forget that most people don't recognize Marxist Bolshevik references, even though, in this particular case, the term itself is pretty self-explanatory. But the practice
tools and morality, they're right there. 1 minute and 27 seconds in. Tools and morality.
1 minute, all right.
Hello everyone,
Now,
and welcome to another long-awaited episode of Freedom Alternative Research and Analysis. Now, when it comes to practical politics, tradition teaches us that the left overuses all sorts of tools without any regard for morality because the ends justify the means. Conversely, the right traditionally overemphasizes morality without too much regard for tools because the ends does not justify the means. Now, while it is indeed true that the ends do not always justify the means, sometimes they do. And being moral is good in itself, but it isn't and cannot be an end in itself. Especially not when dealing with the left, whose morality doesn't preclude them to use anything and everything available. That's how we are.
Translation: they have no morality.
They have no morality, but he's going to get into what is agitprop specifically.
We are, because the right has outright refused to use certain tools because it viewed them a priori as tainted, because they were invented or merely just perfected by leftists. Meanwhile, leftists have had no qualms in using tools invented or...
When do we get to the tools?
Here we go. Modern agitprop. There we go.
While the Bolsheviks invented the term and used the tool on a massive scale for the first time, it wasn't the original Bolsheviks that made agitprop what it is in modern times. Agitprop in the early 20th century was very open. Everyone knew, both the agitators and those being agitated towards, that what they were hearing was propaganda. The Communist Party of the USSR used agitprop to disseminate knowledge about the policies of the Communist Party, but also knowledge about new or better agricultural methods, knowledge about the use of electricity, and other practical information has also been disseminated for the purpose of expediency using the same apparatus of agitation that the Communist Party already had in place. Now, between the early 20th century agitprop and modern agitprop, there is a missing link. And that missing link is Eugen Bertolt Friedrich Brecht, most commonly referred to as Bertolt Brecht, a West German poet, playwright, theater director, and a Marxist. Bertolt Brecht built upon the early works of the Bolsheviks by making agitprop less obvious through introducing subtle and sometimes not so subtle Marxist propaganda into his work. Although educated by a dissident Marxist, Brecht was a true believer in the Soviet ideology. So much so that he spent his last years in the Deutsche Demokratische Republik, that would be East Germany, defending the
Basically what it is you get two parties together, and you get them to fight each other. You create conflict, and then you have the conflict. It's problem action solution. It's basically put in there, except instead of, you make your characters like, let's say, you make the character like Peter and the Wolf, right? Peter and the Wolf's a perfect example of this, I'd actually think. Do you know about the story about Peter and the Wolf, Luke?
Yes.
Okay, so you know that's originally a Soviet propaganda tale, right?
Really?
Yes. Peter and the Wolf.
Yeah. I mean, there are very obvious, very Russian tones in it. But what is the propaganda part of it?
Well, the propaganda part is the fact that the wolf can be civilized, and if you just give enough of a care, that eventually, even the wolf will see reason and see the Soviet dream. All the adults were like, hey, let's kill the wolf because the wolf can never change. Well, Peter actually reforms the wolf and puts it in the zoo.
Oh, that's the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only versions I have are the Disney version and the revised animated versions, which involves the wolf being captured and then released.
Yeah, like he gets released in the zoo, and there's like a whole parade and all.
Oh yeah, well in the new ones, he's not released into the zoo. He's just captured and he's miserable. And Peter's like, yeah, there's no way to treat him. Let's just let him go.
Yeah, exact. Well, that's actually quite interesting because again, that's like the equivalent of saying those capless pigs and wolves.
Despite the fact that in both issues he kills the goose.
Well, yeah. I don't know.
Which is like, okay, well, they're obviously very dangerous and lethal. So why are you releasing him to kill again?
Well, why are we doing great deals with the Soviet Union?
Oh, and the new one, the wolf is actually a mother and she has cubs. That makes it more justifiable to let it go.
But agitprop, what is agitprop exactly? So, based on what I know from the Wikipedia article, because again, as much as I like Lucian, he needs to have some better freaking. Well, I need to have better prep for one.
Brevity is the soul of wit.
So what it comes from agitation, and it's vigorous promulgation of ideas such as class struggle. The idea that people can you could accuse someone of something like I'm being oppressed by the heaven, like look at the plot of Hazbin Hotel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't there is redemption, right? There is redemption right now for humans, but because they're in hell, they're outside of space and time, therefore there's no change, right? Same thing in heaven. There's no change. So the immediate conflict is not necessarily between God, salvation and damnation. The immediate conflict is between, those who have and those who have not, right? So you can see that that's really what we're talking about here. It's not actually about, there's no chance for redemption. What does redemption look like? Does that mean we have to suck the tranny dick? It might very well be. Keep going. Keep playing it.
The general idea that we've been seeing from the modern left is that the established order should be broken and destroyed. Now, I'm all for reform. If some dude is throwing fireworks around or whatever, there may be a reason why the Angels did not like what he was doing. Because he's throwing fireworks at people or throwing them in the air. It's like, dude, chill, man. I'd like to point this out. As they say, he's
the fantastical ideas for all of creation.
And you see him throw fireworks into the air, and he's smiling and laughing. Yeah, fireworks are beautiful. They can be great. But let's take this literally. The Angels are like, dude, stop throwing fireworks! And he's like, oh, but they're pretty. It's like, okay, yeah, well, you get my point. I'm kind of being a dick, but let's play more.
But he was seen as a troublemaker by the elders of heaven. For they felt
it was
his
the
way of
bird.
thinking was dangerous.
It was the bird, Luke. The bird was the one behind it the entire time. I mean, he even has the same smiley face and everything. Like, they can't draw anything else but the fucking tuxedo mask-looking Meta Knight bitch face. I don't know. That's what it looks like to me. Keep going.
To the order of their world. So he watched as the angels began to expand the universe in their ways. From the dust of earth they created Adam and Lilith, equals as the first of mankind. But despite this, Adam demanded control, and Lilith refused to submit to his will. She fled the garden. Drawn in by her fierce independence, Lucifer found her, and the two rebellious dreamers
fell. Oh, yeah, and later it's revealed that Adam's a stereotypical jerk.
Oh, they do that, and what's even worse about this whole scenario is that...
Oh yeah, because in this scenario, all the good people become like in the dynamic between heaven and hell. Humans become angels, and humans become demons, and that's where all the new heavenly and hell dynamic exists for.
Yeah, they humanize the demons and they humanize the angels, which is just not. No, sorry,
yeah.
But yeah, it's a work of fiction. But
yeah, he's the leader. Adam's the leader of the angels too. It's like, oh.
I don't know if that's Catholic. I don't know, maybe.
But it's,
I mean, there's always the
it's
idea.
canon here.
It's canon. Well, here's the thing that's interesting is that, originally it was Samael, I think his name was, the angel that fucked Lilith, right? It wasn't Lucifer. Although people will say Samael is Lucifer, but he's not. They're two different entities. One's an angel that went renegade in the Book of Enoch, and we're not going to talk about the Book of Enoch here. Not today, okay? We're going too deep. But it was originally Samuel, so in this case, that's where they're getting that idea from. Keep going.
Deeply in love. Together, they wished to share the magic of free will with humanity, offering the fruit of knowledge to Adam's new bride, Eve, who gladly accepted. But this gift came with a curse, for with this single act of disobedience, evil finally found its way into Earth. With it, the new realm of darkness and sin, and the order heaven had worked to maintain, was shattered.
So I want to pause right there.
So it's all just a big misunderstanding. That's what it was.
Oh, it's just a. Why would you ever accept anything from the guy who cucked your first wife? Again, and here's the thing about this. You got to understand, Lilith is a feminist icon. Luke, show them those pictures I sent you.
Let's see. Here's one with Lilith with the white robe, and another one with Lilith in the yellow. And they say, why Jewish leaders want Jewish women to be fruitful and multiply? For Lilith karate. What is this? And why the Jewish theology seminary afraid of this woman? Okay, what is this?
This is agitprop. This is like legitimately from a actual Jewish women's magazine called Lilith.
Sounds like a Wiccan magazine now.
Oh, you have no idea, because now we're going into it. How do we know? Now that we're armed with the concept of agitprop, we're going into the thick of this.
Although, for clarification, like I just Googled it, and the first Google definition of agitprop is political propaganda, especially favoring communism and disseminating through literature, art, drama, art. Oh, so basically anything by Disney for the last decade.
Yep, and here we go. Into the fray.
What's a good I mean, Brave New World and Animal Farm are anti-communist agitprop, but what would what's a good example of a communist? What's a clear example of communist agitprop? I mean, technically, like everything we're doing, like any scenario where you're either killing God or overthrowing the establishment, that's all communist agitprop, I guess.
Gnostic antiprop.
Well, same thing.
well, again, because I guarantee you, the whole what they're basically going to do is they're not going to reform the system in this hell of a boss or universe, the Vizipop universe, right?
Pagans, priestess, and witches. What is this?
This is the actual Lilith fucking magazine. Oh, Lilith.org.
Oh, so how old are these pig images?
How old those are going back to the 1960s and shit.
But this is the actual independent Jewish and frankly feminine. Independent Jewish and frankly feminist. That doesn't say that on the site, but I'm just drawing that conclusion.
It says it right. No, it's literally called that's what it is, dude.
I did not see that coming, and frankly, I'm out of my comfort zone.
Well, unfortunately, we have to throw off our iconic oppressors, and we have to reestablish order. And therefore, we have to fix bayonets, and we have to take the enemy trench line. And don't worry, we're gonna fire gas shells before we go over the top. Anyhow,
pagans, priests, and witches, but Jewishly. What?
This is what we're dealing with. So, we're gonna read some of this shit, okay? This again for people who say that there is Lilith's the patron saint of fucking of feminism. This is what they're talking about. There is an argument to be had here. Now, just because they use the iconography doesn't mean that the show will be about it. They're using a bunch of fucking characters. It's like no different than me pulling up Romeo and Juliet and using them for like as a character to tell a point. They're just stock characters at this point. So. We're gonna read some of this, Luke. Do you have your AI reader?
Technically, yes, but I don't know if it's gonna work right now. Because I'm using it to make something, and so I kind of ran out of characters.
Oh shit! Spiritual ideas and practices that seem
actually
shockingly and laughable.
But it's only like 30 cents, so maybe it won't be too expensive.
30 cents, Jesus Christ. Okay.
for what's a good voice I could use for this? Kissinger. Well, I made those voices.
Kissinger.
Failure doesn't mean you are a failure. It just means you...
The heart has its reasons, which reason knows not of.
Ugh.
The only thing to do with good advice is to pass it on. It is never of any use to oneself.
Here we go. Request exceeds your... Oh, I can't use... I'm sorry, guys. I can't use it.
All right, well, spiritual ideas and practices that seemed shocking or laughable just a couple decades ago are now moving mainstream. Today's feminist fusion of nature-centered power, forgotten women's wisdom, Gnostics bullshit, right? And Jewish mystical traditions are becoming very appealing. And why not? They blend environmentalism, a wide welcome for people of marginalized identities, and earnestness about spiritual seeking that used to be utterly beyond the reach of institutions. This time, it looks like the Jewiches are here to stay.
Jewiches. That's a word now.
And who are we going to talk about? Well, first off, we're going to find a way to speak this shit, okay? Because I don't text to speak. We'll get fucking. I will sooner have Mr. Frickin' Stephen Hawking talk about this shit. Here we go. We'll find it here.
Oh, I have natural reader if you like.
Natural reader. We're gonna natural reader this shit because I don't want to read, and I failed because the witches were the ones who actually were in charge of the institutions, the public institutions.
And our reader's name is Zira.
Zira, warrior princess.
For centuries, misogyny has made witchcraft synonymous with evil. In colonial America, women who threatened norms were frequently accused of witchcraft and were punished with death.
Oh my god!
I wonder to what degree that's actually true.
Misogyny, for centuries, they have their idea. They know what the problem is. The original sin is misogyny. Like, no, literally with Lilith, it's literally,
Practitioners of indigenous religions were demonized too, seen as a threat to the righteous Christian lifestyle. The wicked witch trope persists in myths and fairy tales. A villainous woman, usually older, who might offer you a poisoned apple and bake your children into a pie. And this fierce hatred is not unique to the Western world. Countries on nearly every continent have similarly disturbing histories of witch hunting. In some places it continues today.
By all means, try to this is like the dynamic of agitprop. Oh yeah, because actually James Lindsay had a video about what his new. I don't think it was called agitprop. But he's pointing out that whenever the left is doing something, they're trying to have everyone talk about something and make everyone talk about in two different ways, and and they both advance the dialectic, whichever one they choose.
That's exactly what agitprop is. That is what it's designed to do.
And basically, his advice. I'll get to the advice he gives later, so I'll play the rest of it now.
And yet his tales of the mythological demon Lilith, and this magazine's title, remind us, for as long as there has been feminism, there's been feminist reclamation of threatening female archetypes. In recent years we've seen yet another revival. Jewitry has grown in popularity, and in associations. The Jewitch's Instagram and TikTok accounts have 4K followers each, and more than 10K public Instagram posts and TikToks with millions of views use the Jewitch hashtag. There are also several Jewitch Facebook groups with thousands of members. The percolation of Jewitry through social media points to its appeal to Gen Z and millennials, as well as to its function as a tool for connection.
And every time I hear stuff like this, I'm always thinking of this clip from the series Sonic Boom.
It all comes down to this one penalty kick. Can the young woman break the glass ceiling and prove once and for all that a female can be just as good an athlete as a male?
You know, Amy, anytime someone calls attention to the breaking of gender roles, it ultimately undermines the concept of gender equality by implying that this is an exception and not the status quo.
That is what we're dealing with. We are literally dealing with people who are literally trying to fight a war by playing, lawfare, essentially, spiritual lawfare.
But here's the thing, though: it's a war they've technically won, but they've just don't, because everyone is effectively a first wave feminist at this point. Like, their ideas have become the mainstream, but wait, I want to get in on this action too. I want to get in on this grift. It's like, oh, it's so boring too. It's like, that's part of the advice we give people. Like, okay, and so.
Well, you have to understand they can't be the rebels without having an archonic oppressor to fight back against. So this is the reason why the whole satanic dialectic, and I say the satanic dialectic because that's what it is. You can't have God without the devil, and vice versa. So they're convenient stock characters to push ideological notions, right? Same concept. So you have to start looking at these people as characters. Lilith created infertility and miscarriages in mythology. She is considered a threat to women who believed in her, and they try to keep her away with charms. Exactly, because she's a fucking spinster, Wolf. That's what she is. She's the goddess of. She's the patron demoness of fucking spinsters.
Oh.
Originally, the term referred to a subcategory of Semitic neopaganism, a movement dedicated to resurrecting pre-patriarchal, earth-based spiritual traditions and beliefs such as Wicca and goddess worship in combination with Judaism.
Well, that actually reminds me. I had a conversation. Like, I do fencing practice, right? And so we had one of my teachers here to give us some advice, and apparently he's a pagan, and he admits that he's a pagan. And he had this conversation with a woman who says, "Is it true you're a pagan? Yeah, and you worship goddesses, right? Yeah, I worship the goddess." He says, "Oh, so how come women are in charge?" And he says, "I don't know. It would be better that way." Like, oh. It's like they're surprised when they're offended that women are in charge, but they ask the question, well, why aren't they in charge? I mean, go ahead, be in charge if you can.
You might have a whole fucking coven, right? I hate to be the guy that says this, but I know who you're talking about. I have a whole coven operating there. I'm
certain they're a coven. I mean, I saw them once engaging in effigy where they took a pumpkin with their hatreds written on it and smashed it in the middle of the night.
Oh.
I stumbled upon it by accident. I was just in my backyard to get something, and I heard people talking in my backyard. Like, uh-oh, it was my neighbor.
Well, you know what? Keep in mind, you and them might not be able to see much ideologically, but my God, they're pretty good at fencing, right?
Well, that woman's the Christian woman, so I don't think the pagans don't. They do the pagans. They do more stage fencing. We do the actual fencing. The more Christian folks.
Yeah, we do the more. We understand it's a freaking aesthetic. Anyhow, keep going.
Anyway.
Jewish
witchcraft. That's the word.
Jewishcraft is a way for a lot of us who have Jewish heritage in the pagan community to reconnect with our ancestral traditions. Starhawk, self-described Jewish and scholar of paganism and goddess worship, told Lilith. There were goddesses in Judaism for centuries. It was not until a stricter, more patriarchal, and monotheistic Jewish faction won out and codified the Bible, she said, that this more gender-inclusive spirituality was lost.
Was it though?
No, it wasn't. And even then, like, this notion that, like, look at the Romans, right?
I mean,
look at the Romans, look at the Greeks.
Because
they had gender norms as well. Yeah, they did.
I'm not suggesting that there was no oppression of women, but is it really this great conspiracy? Like, really? I mean, every single time? And even if it is, like, why should I care? That ultimately the case I'm asking.
It's
like,
critical theory. It's critical theory, dude. It's
critical theory. That's what it is.
What? It's critical theory.
Yeah, it's agitprop, like you say.
That's what it's designed for. It's designed specifically to get these women to basically rebel and destroy the culture. Ow. Keep going.
This revival is not new. The 70s, which brought us Stevie Nicks, Rhiannon, and Starhawk's own influential book The Spiral Dance, also featured the peak of feminism's second wave.
Spiral dance? So you mean like a dialectic spiral? Oh boy.
No, like that fucking that documentary from Canada I showed you, The Burning Times.
Mm-hmm.
Starhawk, she's the same girl. She's the same Jewish. Yes. Again, her words, not ours. This is a fucking publication, YouTube. I don't know what you're talking about. Praise the goddess, praise Wojcicki.
In Lilith's spring 1980 issue, Annette Dom described women-centered religions as alternatives to theologies rooted in and reflecting the male experience, adding that neither Judaism nor Christianity has lived up to its expressed ideals in the treatment of women. These words find an echo in today's wave of religious experimentation and broadening, serving spiritual seekers who are hungry for more inclusive, flexible, and empowering practices that uplift women and those who don't conform to the gender binary.
And I kind of I don't know what they're getting at, because they say that, I mean, I guess the depiction is like the Genesis, like the God is masculine in the Bible, and so like the construction of the universe is a more masculine project. But what, women can't build things? That's not what that implies.
No. What they're trying to do is they're trying to they're using the characters of Lilith, they're using the characters of Joan of Arc to inject feminist propaganda into it, and in some cases with Dianic Wicca and Starhawk and all the rest of them, they've managed to basically creep in a Marxist feminism, which is a secular ideology, ladies and gentlemen, into a religion, and thus it gets protected as a religion. So now you have basically the government protecting a religious criticism. That's the angle that people don't talk about. They don't want to talk about how the feminist version of Lilith is being propped up instead of the actual historical spinster version of fucking Lilith that would kill your fucking daughter and kill you and me because we're sons of Adam and daughters of Eve, to make a C.S. Lewis reference.
Oh, that explains the White Witch then.
Oh, maybe. I don't think Stephen King not Stephen King. Shit, I'm sorry. I don't think fucking C.S. Lewis
that wasn't C.S. Lewis. I'm sure that wasn't his intention, but we can see the parallels there.
Witchcraft,
Go on.
Witchcraft, in fact, seems to have become a catch-all for inclusivity. And because of
inclusivity, they said the word. They said the secret word.
We have to check our privilege, Luke. We're the patriarchal oppressors. We created fucking Rome.
If they bring Pee Wee Herman back, they can have him to cheer out the SAW words or the magic words.
Oh, dude, I wish we could bring him back, but Lord knows, him and Cowboy Curtis wouldn't get along anymore.
And because of social media, its language and aesthetics have spread quickly. There are hashtags, social media groups, and even a witch talk genre on TikTok. Author and witch Pam Grossman told The Atlantic that the more frustrated people get, they do often turn to witchcraft, because they're like, well, the usual channels are just not working. So let's see what else is out there.
Reality is not going my way. I will resort to more absurd things.
No. What it is you have to learn to throw off your archonic oppressors, Luke.
Same thing.
You have to eat the fruit of knowledge to recognize your oppression and therefore fulfill the revolution and throw off the demiurge.
Well, yeah, you're using. Yeah, I'm being facetious, of course, but yeah, it's like reality. But like, I just throw off eat from the true and throw off my archonic oppressor, which means the world isn't going my way, so I'm going to cheat and fail.
I'm going to use magic, and I'm going to use fanciful associations to try to push an agenda. That's what that is.
Series practitioners note that while it may be tempting to adopt casually a few witchy rituals, it is important to avoid the appropriation of culture from the communities that created many of them. Such as voodoo, practiced by West African slaves in the 18th century, or African and Cuban-born Santeria.
Are you not familiar with the phrase imitation is a form of flattery? Is the most sincerest form of flattery?
No, don't you dare freaking try your voodoo shit, you fucking you evil white archonic oppressor.
You're a white archonic. Make me. No, I kid. I don't want to do voodoo. That's for lunatics.
That's for drug addicts. That's for smackheads. That's smackhead magic.
To call oneself a witch today can also imply a belief in justice and resistance, and some white folks are particularly conscious of acknowledging this borrowing.
That's what trans is for.
But they're not white, they're Jewish.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we should get all the Jewish stereotypes in on this. We should get the alt-right should get on this website and make some memes out of it.
Dude, like, this type of shit exists, and I am watching this, I'm like, how is the right have not found this? Like, I fucking remember this from a Rocking Mystery video, where he, like, casually shows this shit, and I actually typed in the freaking stuff. This exists.
Well, unfortunately, people like Rockin' Mystery don't really exist anymore. It's like after the whole Charlottesville thing, everyone with a dissenting opinion kind of vanished.
Well, yeah, they left because at the end of the fucking day, they bought their own BS, So here's more intel about fucking Lilith.
And what is this?
This is Adam's first wife being erased from history because she insisted to be on top. She didn't want to be on top. That's literally the argument.
We all know the biblical myth about Adam and Eve, the story that tells of our creation and the relationship between God and humanity. But what if there was another woman before Eve, one called Lilith? Who was she? And what symbolism hides behind her story? We'll try to find out together in the new episode of Secret Origins.
Redheads get you in trouble. That's what the symbolism says. Redheads get you in trouble. Judas Iscariot was a ginger. Fucking Lilith was a ginger. Fucking Mary Magdalene was a ginger. Redheads get you in trouble. Reject the redhead. Embrace the traditional blonde.
Is that why Jews hate him so much?
I thought the Jews liked you. I don't know. Maybe. I don't
know. If there's a stereotype of Jews, Hollywood being run by Jews, and Hollywood's always eager to wipe out the redheads, is that the reason for it?
Well, I mean, you have to understand, Nero Caesar was fucking a redhead as well. Caligula was a little redhead.
Oh.
No, sir. Oh, yeah. Genghis Khan, believe it or not, redhead. I'm not joking about that.
According to Abrahamic religions, God created Adam, the first human, out of clay and breathed life into him. The Lord God formed the man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. But for Adam, no suitable helper was found, so the Lord God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep, and while he was sleeping, he took one of the man's ribs and closed up the place with flesh. Then the Lord God made a woman from the rib he had taken out of the man, and he brought her to the man. The man said,
This is AI art.
Yep. And you know, it's probably all
hands
AI
all twisted
made.
around. I mean, that's just a new feature of today. Now everything's AI. Everything's gonna be AI art now.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, look at the background. Go back.
Well, the background's at least somewhat real, somewhat acceptable.
No, look at the background.
Taken out of the man, and he brought her.
Look at all those people, dude.
What's all the buildings?
This is after they throw off their arconic oppressors, and they basically, that's the Soviet new man and the Soviet new woman, and they're engaging in an orgy.
Is this the Garden of Earthly Delights?
It's in the God of the Vita, let's say.
Her to the man. The man said, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of a man." But isn't it weird and illogical that God created all living beings in pairs, a female and male, but only Adam was created alone? Deep within the history of Jewish mythology lies a tale of a figure who defined the conventions of her time and embraced her own desires and independence. Her name is Lilith, Adam's first wife. From demonist to feminist icon, Lilith has undergone a myriad of interpretations and adaptations, making her one of the most enigmatic figures in...
Smash? Pass? What are we gonna... I don't know, Luke. Do we play to the type, or do we not play to the type? Do we act like the arconic oppressors that these Marxists want us to be, or do we actually just laugh at this shit and say that it's fucking feminist revisionism and it should be taken as much serious as saying that Jesus was a socialist? Because that's really what this is. Like, because here's the thing, these characters, they killed boys and girls. They killed, like Wolf was right about this. They legitimately kill kids. These motherfuckers aren't real, Luke. These fuckers, these feminist icons, these motherfuckers are fucking real. Keep going.
But then again, that does explain the hatred for things like kill. Like, you remember when that hashtag was around "kill all men"? What do you think the spiritual cause of that was from?
Well, yeah, because you have this Lilith energy that's being injected into everything, right? And it's basically, killing people. It's causing people to, live a life of sin and debauchery that isolates them away from any meaningful fucking pairing. Even Mark Passio, the fucking Hermeticist guy, right? Fucking ex-Satanist. He was even calling this shit out back in the day. He was talking about how the MGTOWs were just as guilty of this because they run away from it, and they should be charging directly into this cunt. Well, not into this cunt particular, but you get the idea. Keep going.
In folklore, who was she? And how did she gain her notoriety? In Jewish folklore, it is believed that Lilith was Adam's initial spouse. Although the Torah, the compilation of the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible, does not mention her, over time she has been linked to Adam as a way of reconciling the different accounts of the creation story found in the book of Genesis. After parting from Adam, Lilith is portrayed as a demon or spirit who preys on children, women in childbirth, and men who venture out alone at night. She is also associated with desire.
She's a hooker.
Rebellion against...
She's literally a woman of the night.
She's a predator. That's what she is.
Oh, here she comes. Oh, watch out, boy, she'll chew you up. Oh, here she comes. She's a man-eater.
Male authority. But was she really a demon? Or is there more to her story that remains hidden?
Oh, that's beautiful AI work right there.
That is.
I mean, maybe someone did draw this, but AI has a certain quality to it. You can usually tell it on site now.
They have a more organic look, don't they? Everything looks more organic and like less like structural, if that makes any sense. So like they'll draw a necklace, but the beads won't be even, and they'll even look dreamlike. Keep going.
From us, what was the origin of the Lilith myth, and how has it evolved over time? Lilith's origin remains uncertain among scholars, although some suggest that she may have been influenced by Sumerian legends about female vampires. The myth of Lilith has its roots in ancient Mesopotamian and Babylonian cultures, where she was believed to be a demon or spirit associated with storms and wind. In Sumerian mythology, she was called Lilithu, a type of demon that preyed on babies and pregnant women. In this tradition, Lilith is described as
basically feminists. Basically feminists. Like, I'm not kidding. These, like, you become what you idealize, Mm-hmm. Like, you want to be like Thor. Thor is kind of a dick, Fucking Lilith is a feminist, quite literally in this regard. And then you have the fucking Hindus basically worshipping a super team of deities, and they're basically schizophrenics now.
So if Thor is a D, does that make Lilith a C?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Fuck her right in the pussy.
Female form and is associated with the concept of uncleanliness and impurity. She is often used as a cautionary tale to warn against the dangers of disobedience and rebellion. But in Babylonian,
these AI renderings make her look like a cautionary tale. She's terrifying.
She is a cautionary tale, bro. She literally is. Don't stick your dick in crazy.
mythology, Lilith is also associated with the goddess Ishtar and is believed to have been a handmaiden to her. She is also associated with the idea of sexual desire and fertility. However, the most well-known version of the Lilith story can be found in the Jewish tradition. While Lilith is mentioned 4 times in the Babylonian Talmud, it wasn't until the alphabet Ben Sira, a medieval text from the 9th or 10th century, that she became associated with the initial version of the creation story. The alphabet of Ben Sira describes Lilith as Adam's first wife and provides a comprehensive account of her story. According to this story, Lilith was created by God from earth's dust just like Adam, and she believed that both of them should be treated the same manner. Although Lilith was supposed to live in the Garden of Eden with Adam, she was strong and independent and thought of herself as Adam's equal, since she was created in the same way he was. Lilith responded.
So
therefore we're all equal.
But like, what would the problem be with that? Like, I mean, if they're man woman, are they like disagreeing about what? What I mean, they're the only man and woman in the entire garden. What the heck is there to disagree about?
Well, you have to understand that little fucking snake in the Garden of Eden was trying to get them to throw off their archonic oppressors, and therefore he had to basically inject feminism into the religion. Now, granted, feminism is a modern ideology, but we have to revise stuff so that way we can inject feminism into Christianity via liberation theology, or in the case of all the pagans, Dianic Wicca, let's say, or some other Marxist variant of neo-paganism. This is why I say, again, they're actors. They are stock characters that these SJWs will use and idealize, and they will basically push their agenda by using religious iconography. Keep going.
We are equal to each other, in as much as we are both created from the earth. But they would not listen to one another. When Lilith saw this, she pronounced the ineffable name and flew away into the air. So, after leaving Adam, Lilith fled to the Red Sea, where she mated with demons and gave birth to hundreds of demon offspring. Adam stood in prayer before his creator. Sovereign of the universe, he said, "The woman you gave me has run away." At once, the Holy One, blessed be he, sent these 3 angels to bring her back. If she agrees to come back, fine. If not, she must permit 100 of her children to die every day. The angels left God and pursued Lilith, whom they overtook in the midst of the sea, in the mighty waters, wherein the
and that uterus is probably as dry as hasn't been dry since the last fucking millennia, let's say. That's how bad the uterus is. So and I find it very interesting because here's the thing about what was it, Ishtar, right? You remember playing that game Catherine? Ishtar, the game Catherine, right?
Right.
Yeah, the character of Trisha is the Midnight Venus. Like, she literally is fucking, what the hell's her name? Her name, Ishtar. That's the same character. And if you've ever seen that freaking game, They literally say that women are the sex that chooses everything. So this is all feminist propaganda in that regard. A lot of this is, we're going to indoctrinate your women with, neo-paganism and take them away from you. That's what that is. It's designed to segregate women away from men and men away from women. It's part of the gender war bullshit. That's how this is being used. That's how it's being played. So the whole, oh well, Lilith really was part of it, but she was kept out by those evil patriarchal. It's designed to take away daughters from fathers or fathers from daughters. That's what it's designed to do by using their the attack surface of their mythology. If that makes any sense. You know what an attack surface is, Luke? An attack surface in a cybersecurity sense is what are things that are open to attack. Like, so let's say you're trying to break into a router or you're trying to break into a machine. If certain ports are open, that means you could possibly communicate with that machine. So think of this as the reason why the Marxists are using, Christian iconography or Judeo-Christian iconography is to push their agenda. They're trying to say, no, I have knowledge more than you. It's like what James Lizzie said with the Gnostics. No, I know your religion and ideology, but I know it one step better. That's the idea behind it. It's they have the gnosis, and therefore we could be liberated. Keep going.
They told her God's word, but she did not wish to return. The angel said, "We shall drown you in the sea." "Leave me," she said. "I was created only to cause sickness to infants. If the infant is male, I have dominion over him for 8 days after his birth, and if female, for 20 days. When the angels heard Lilith's words, they insisted she go back. But she swore to them by the name of the living and eternal God, "Whenever I see you or your names or your forms in an amulet, I will have no power over that infant." She also agreed to have 100 of her children die every day. Accordingly, every day 100 demons perish, and for the same reason Jewish people write the angels' names on the amulets of young children. When Lilith sees their names, she remembers her oath, and the child recovers. Being left alone and unable to accept Lilith's refusal, Adam called upon God to create another mate for him, which resulted in the creation of Eve from Adam's rib, the story that we already know. According to some versions of the story, Lilith was jealous of Adam and Eve because they lived in peace and happiness in the Garden of Eden. Plotting to take
fucking robots,
she transformed her into
fucking AI. It's like AI or some shit, Luke.
I think this might, or I'm not sure if this comic book stuff is AI, though. I mean, it could be, but I'm not sure whether. Now this is probably AI, but
according to some versions
this
of the story,
one, maybe it's pretty good for AI.
Why are they having loincloths?
I guess they had to make it. I guess they censored it for the internet. Although we've seen enough. There were enough exposed chests in this video so far, so I'm not sure what the deal is.
I don't know.
Peace and happiness in the Garden of Eden. Plotting to take revenge on the pair, she transformed her into a serpent and returned to the garden, where she convinced Eve to eat the forbidden fruit, which resulted in Adam and Eve having to leave the paradise. As a result of her rebellion, Lilith became a figure of fear and malevolence.
Oh, so Lilith was the snake.
But I thought Jesus was the snake. I thought Jesus was trying to break us free. Oh wait, God is a girl. No,
this is probably the Jewish Kabbalah, so this is just different tradition.
Don't call it a tradition. It's a don't give these motherfuckers a legitimacy.
No, I'm not, because that's the reason why they're mixed because they're syncretistic. They all these different traditions just bundled together in a huge cafeteria line.
Yeah, and it's all designed to say that Marxism is the one true religion. Or tradition.
They say they're all nonsense and say, well, we believe in the demiurge. We just replace the demiurge with capitalism.
Right. We have to, and therefore we have to basically rebel.
Jewish folklore associated with witchcraft, seduction, and death. Can we find similar stories about Lilith in other cultures and religious traditions? Lilith is not mentioned directly in the Bible, but some Christian writers have referenced her as a symbol of temptation and sin. In Islamic tradition, Lilith is believed to be the mother of jinn, or supernatural creatures. In some images and art, Lilith is portrayed standing on the back of 2 lions, which she seemed to bend according to her will. Throughout history,
oh my God, she's like a Disney villain almost. like legitimately, you're making me think I don't know, kind of want to fuck her now. I don't know, it's just me.
Art, as well as on plaques and reliefs, especially in Babylon, where she was said to have originated. On some reliefs, she's portrayed with the upper body of a woman and the tail of a serpent instead of...
Oh, Medusa.
Fucking Naga or some shit.
That's what I want to do. I want there to be like a story for Medusa where she doesn't get killed and she gets her revenge on the gods who cursed her.
I don't know. That sounds so much like an agitprop for like getting back at patriarchal beauty standards.
The Greek gods were pretty horrible. They cursed her with the sight, the evil sight, because she allowed herself to get raped in a temple. Like that's fair. I mean, the Greek gods are jerks. They deserve. If anyone deserves to die, it's them.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
If any patriarchy deserves it smashed down, it's the Greek pantheon.
Yes. Yes.
Body, much like Echinda in Greek mythology. In the 19th and 20th century, Lilith was rediscovered by feminist writers and scholars who saw her as a symbol of female empowerment and rebellion.
Yeah, don't say. Please tell me more.
And they incorporated it as they culturally appropriated it, is what they did.
In this context, she came to represent the struggle for women's rights and the rejection of patriarchal authority. Could we find more about Lilith in the meaning of her name?
I'm sure we can. Can we move on to Can we move on to something else, please?
All right, we'll find something else.
But where's that? Oh, I want to continue with that article because I want to see how it's wrong for the feminists. Like, we can admire her, but we're allowed to admire Lilith, but we can't imitate her because that's a cultural appropriation. Where'd that article go? Let's see if I can find it again.
But you allow pagans in your culture, and you get pagan results. You allow pagan garbage in, you get pagan garbage out. Polygamy is on the rise, according to Matt Walsh, which looks like he's
real polygamy, or just is it Mormonism? Because Mormonism's been around in America for a while.
Why is the media suddenly praising polygamy? Because they're a bunch of pagans. You mean Matt, that's why.
Polygamy or polyamory?
Polyamory.
Yeah, that's just being loose. That's just being no commit. Pretending you have a commitment with no commitments. It's like, ugh. Like, it's marriage with benefits.
This is disgusting. Like, honestly, these people look...
Huh?
These people who are involved in this polyamory shit, like, they're really trying to push it on us. And a lot of this is because, it takes two to tangle. So what they want is they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to be the Lilith, but then they want to come home and be, what the hell's it, Eve? They want to be Eve when it's acceptable, but they want to have the sexual power of Lilith, and that just can't happen. So that these people go back and forth between the two. It's like a Madonna whore complex, except it's Jackie and Marilyn almost.
British TV show called Love Don't Judge featured a glowing profile of...
Oh, I will judge, and I can judge, and I will judge. Thank you very much.
Please try and stop us.
1 woman and 4 men who were in a polyamorous relationship with each other.
Wait, how many people?
4.
Were in a polyamorous relationship. About 5 years ago, a British TV show called Love Don't Judge featured a glowing profile of 5 people, 1 woman and 4 men.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah, you can just look at them. Skip ahead and look at them.
It did not end well, as I recall correctly.
Yeah,
because at least the sister wives one that ended terribly, but at least it lasted longer because it's just the obvious dynamic there worked better.
We're in a polyamorous relationship with each other, and clips from the episode went viral, and the 5 lovebirds quickly became the faces of polyamory, and they are interesting faces indeed.
Yes, it's them. Yes,
it's Tori.
Fucking borderline.
Travis.
Oh.
He's been part of some pagan coven. He's part of that shit.
He has to be, or else he's going to get a wife.
Well, he'll get that Summer Isle, dude.
I mean, I shouldn't judge. I mean, I'm single, but still, it's like... I know we shouldn't judge people appearances, but dang it, they make it too easy.
Well, here's the thing, dude. Here's the thing. You got to understand that the whole reason why they want us to get together is they want to be able to... Like I said, they want to have their cake and eat it, too. They want to be sexually liberated, but it has to be on their terms.
They want all the benefits of marriage, but the extra of having multiple partners, which that doesn't work. If you're going to have multiple partners, then he has to. If you really want to have multiple partners, then it has to be in a restricted polygamous sense. That's the only way that makes it work. And even then, that won't work because the women are going to get jealous, and there's going to be problems, and there's going to be difficulties. That's just going to you guys have to deal with that. That's what you really want.
And Ethan.
There's nothing flattering about any of these shots.
These people are like, ugh.
Could you at least comb your hair properly so the back doesn't flip over?
Christ, but this is what you get when you allow pagans to rule everything. You have a breakdown of social norms that are based on Christian. Oh, well, he's bad.
Well, I mean, I know we just said the things about redheads, but he's the most normal one.
Theodore looks like Spoonie.
Here we go. How does this? I mean, I'm a little acquainted with the adult side of the internet, but how can this work in real life? I mean,
it can't work in real life. It's basically what it is they want to have a harem, but they don't want to call it a harem.
This is not a harem. I'm sorry, but harems have to be women, otherwise it's not going to work.
What about the freaking what was it? Owen High School Host Club. That's what they're trying to do. That these people would look shitty, even worse than that fucking shit.
I mean, but the allure of that, it was the girls who went to that club only implied that they were together, and that was the attraction, like that was the sexiness of it for them. But they were just best friends taking advantage of their interests.
So they were basically a bunch of man whores, essentially, a bunch of fucking
they're being paid for it.
Well, maybe you're in love. Who knows?
The relationship could best be described by having Tori as the hub and all of us are spokes on the giant wheel.
That did not sound good at all.
She probably eats mayonnaise on this out of a jar with her hands, bare hands.
Like they're the four wheels and she's the van.
Oh.
But not everyone understands the dynamic. I was like, oh, you're kidding.
I understand the dynamic. That's stupid.
Oh my god. Look at this thing.
Who's this?
That you're joking. How will this poly relationship cope with a further addition to the family?
Yes, how will they offer addition to the family? Well,
but we all know how it ended, though.
How did it end?
Well, unfortunately, we got an answer to that question rather quickly, and the answer is horrific. Only 5 weeks after the baby was born, the baby you just heard about there, Ethan Balcom, one of the 5 musketeers, was arrested for abusing the infant so viciously that she had severe injuries to her ribs, lungs, limbs, internal organs, and had several brain bleeds as well. Balcom reportedly told police that he injured the baby because he was frustrated that she was preventing him from sleeping. So it turns out that the man who volunteered to be a part of this grotesque, unstable, and dysfunctional polygamous relationship is also himself a grotesque, unstable, and dysfunctional person.
What was his name?
Which one?
What was his name?
Viciously that she had severe... Only 5 weeks after the baby was born, the baby you just heard about there, Ethan Balcom.
Ethan, which one was that?
This one.
Travis. She fell in love with Travis. And Ethan.
This one.
Yeah, the one that looks like Spoonie probably beat it up. And he's the one who you think he would do it too. He actually looks like the most normal of them all, man. But that's what you get when you have paganism in this country. You allow these people to take over, and this is what the result.
Well, that's why I have to disagree with that, because even like when in the Gospels and the New Testament writings, they give Paul, the Apostle Paul is shocked by the behavior of certain Christians. He says, "You do things even the pagans don't do."
Yeah, and that's because the brightest light casts the darkest shadow, so to speak. Christianity it has given us as humanity the best living standards out there compared to the world around us. We have the best living. The West is the best, and we have pulled ourselves out of it. I mean, I think it was E. Michael Jones. Say what you will about Will Ride the Logos guy. He at least was correct that if without Christianity, Europe would basically just be a bunch of tribesmen running around killing each other, raping and pillaging. They'd be no different from what's going on in Africa and some parts of the world.
Internal organs and had several brain bleeds as well. Balcom reportedly told police that he injured the baby because he was frustrated that she was preventing him from sleeping. So it turns out that the man who volunteered...
the four people living in that house, they couldn't. One of them could raise properly, take care of a baby. That's great. That's good job there. It's one baby with 5 people. Like 5 people couldn't take care of a baby. That's pathetic.
Yeah. Yep. And here's another one for you, Luke. This was something that.
Now what?
So not only normalizing neo-paganism to push a Marxist agenda and normalizing the occult.
Yes.
Now
the one who ruined a generation.
Hey, folks.
I don't know, man. I don't fucking know if you can say that she ruined a generation, but I'll tell you this: the Scott Pilgrim versus the World accurately describes a generation. That's the thing that's so scary, is that because Scott's kind of a dick anyhow. He's a dick. Fucking Knives Chow is a naive little fucking.
He takes advantage of a nice innocent high school Chinese girl and then cheats on her with a World War pixie.
A fucking borderline pixie. They're borderlines. I'm telling you. I guarantee you there's a strong correlation between mental illness and these people. And it's not just, the left has been ill. No, the left is like legitimately getting high on their own supply to the point where they think that their magic is actually real. That you could actually hex Trump or some shit like that. They tried, but this is giving more. This, again, when you understand who's doing it, these are the type of people doing it. Play it.
If she were real, she would have probably borderline personality disorder. This is a little bit of a weird writing video. It's prompted by, of course, the last live stream we discussed different kinds of character archetypes.
And if you watch the newest the animated iteration, they literally rewrote the story where all the exes live, and she's basically continuing her relationship, but it ends with. I'm not sure how the ending is not particularly clear about what it is, but all exes still live on with their lives and they carry on. And Scott and her are together because apparently the thing that caused the whole difference in the universe that Scott went back in time to prevent himself from having a relationship with Ramona, but they're still going through with it anyway. And so, but then the older Ramona comes back in and solves that problem and basically makes the whole situation neutral. And so it's all open ended about what she and Scott are going to do in the future.
So it's basically Madoka Magica Rebellion, is what you're saying. That's the plot of Madoka Magica Rebellion.
Really?
They have the character who basically goes back in time or to a different universe because she rejects the piece that her friend has so she could be with her. And there was iconography with Lucifer in that as well. I kid you not.
These of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl that occurs in a lot of romantic comedies. It's a female character, a female romantic interest that whisks a male character onto some adventure, initiates romance in such a way that it breaks him out of his shell, makes him escape from his mundane life. This is a trope of, again, romantic comedies and comedies that are, I guess, more directed towards a male audience. And I think it represents a certain kind of male fantasy, which is the fantasy of somebody being active on you as a romantic partner, rather than what's typical, which is the male having to do virtually all of the initiation, at least early in a relationship. And also, there's deeper male fantasies involved with this trope. The fantasy of the woman being really interested in you and who you are, and seeing deep down inside who you are, and helping you to break out of your shell and to reach your potential. In a meta way, the Manic Pixie Dream Girl causes the male character to ascend to be the man that she wants him to be, which is not
to throw off her arcanic oppressors with the fruit of knowledge, like Lilith told us.
It's purely a fantasy because that kind of thing really doesn't happen in real life. As we were talking about this, and we were looking at it on the Discord server, which if you're a member of the channel or Patreon or Ko-Fi or whatever, you should have.
Yeah, apparently, there's a TV series that I'm kind of watching, and I don't really enjoy it, but the people who do like it say I'm not watching it properly. Oh yeah, Hunter x Hunter. Have you ever seen it?
I have not seen it. I want to see it.
It is unusual I couldn't get it right away because I couldn't figure out what a hunter is, because it seems to be that hunter is this kind of like some sort of established warrior hero who can basically do whatever he wants on the condition that he's always doing something on some sort of mission or on some sort of quest. But the more I watched, I because someone got mad because it was bugging me relentlessly because I couldn't figure out what is the 1-for-1 translation like this, because what he's pointing out is that the whole pixie girl doesn't exist in the real world, and so it's an alluring fantasy, but it's also destructive because that equivalent doesn't exist in the real world. And so I was trying to figure out what the Hunter x Hunter analog was, because I can't really enjoy it if I can't see the analog. And then I realized, it's a hermetic. It's all the hunters are gods. They're gods who are achieving higher levels of godhood and achieving great things. That makes it almost sense now. And when I said that, the person's like, yeah, whatever, because I wasn't enjoying it the way they wanted me to enjoy it.
Yeah, again, don't you know, we're all main characters, and everyone else is an NPC, so we have to basically start, we have to be able to put our people in power, don't you know? Yeah. Otherwise, the world will end. Yeah.
Ability to get on the Discord server. If not, message me, and you can hop on and join the discussion. And I made the remark that, if this person were real, I think she would have borderline personality disorder. Hardwick, that's his handle in the comments and on the Discord server. He went and looked it up, and yeah, there's a lot of people who actually have borderline personality disorder complaining about being compared to a Manic Pixie Dream Girl, being called a Manic Pixie Dream Girl, which they find dehumanizing, as you might imagine. That you exist solely for the benefit of another person. you exist to help to make the man into something, and that's the story role of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl. She's a foil for a passive and boring male character, and you can imagine that this is probably a common fantasy for a lot of first world men because they have a life that's full of mundane tasks and routine, and is exciting to have the idea of an adventure, and also exciting to have the idea of somebody coming in and sort of saving them from the boring life and helping them to be the exciting person that they wish they were inside.
So it's basically what happened if Tunji was basically actually wanted to was successful. If he was like, it's basically what would happen if Tenchi was a salaried man at that point, and he still had all these characters who would show up and basically be manic pixie dream girls and who are somehow related to him in some one or another.
And that's what's really interesting about Tenchi is that he doesn't really pursue any of them. Like, he has all these girls hovering around her wanting to be with him. He's like, yeah, I like, yeah, you're fun, but I'm not interested in you like that way. It's like, huh. That's like, no, and everything else is just the girl taking him on adventures and the girl taking him on. But the thing is, Tenchi's contented where he is. He doesn't need anything else.
And that's sort of the antidote. This is the reason I say Tenchi is like the perfect analog for people who are in nowadays in the world who don't want to really don't want to sell their soul to their fucking borderline girlfriend, but at the same time they don't want to be the guy who's like always waiting for a chick. They have to be passive, but at the same time do what Tenchi did. Fuck chick, screw chicks, get money. That's what he did. He studied. That fucker studied. I don't know what the fuck he was studying for. Probably to be a fucking salary man at Nintendo, but who fucking knows?
And that probably explains why all harem animes are just either inferior to Tenchi in certain ways. Because a lot of the guys, although to be fair, most of the guys in harem animes are not seem to be interested in the girls, which is kind of weird. I wonder why no one capitalizes on that and makes like the inverse of that. Although the only inversion of that is a guilty pleasure, and I'm not going to recommend it to anyone.
Oh, what is it?
Peter Grill.
I don't know what Peter Grill is.
It's one of those animes that hinge on the line of being a hentai, and basically the premise is he's a great champion. It's like a not an isekai story, but set in a medieval fantasy story, and he's the greatest champion of the world, and all the women in the world, all the women of the surrounding areas, because he's in love with this one girl who's the daughter of the daughter of the head of the guild that he really likes to be with, but at the same time all these other girls want to be around her. But in a normal harem setting where he would not be successful with them, they are successful with him, and he hates himself every single time it happens. Because they're so powerful at temptation that he just gives himself away to them, and he just realizes every single encounter ruins his relationship with his true love.
So he's a horn dog.
Well, the girls are they're literally forcing themselves on him, and he can't help but, and he can't help himself at that point.
Jesus, this anime looks like shit.
Although, yeah, the artwork is garbage. The artwork is garbage, and even the manga art, it almost borders on garbage. But it's like the whole inversion of the premise of a typical harem anime. But anyway,
I think one of the there's elements that you can see in lots of different movies that have this female character type. Even in Tombstone, where you have the actor kind of getting Wyatt Earp to not be such a dour fellow and to leave his wife. She's kind of a manic pixie dream girl. But the example that I thought of immediately was Ramona Flowers from Scott Pilgrim versus the World or whatever. There's a comic and then there was a movie, and she's always changing her hair color. And that to me, when I thought of her, that's what I thought. I was like, this is like an idealization of somebody with borderline personality disorder. She's there, then she's not there. Her hair color's always changing. We're not really thinking about somebody who has BPD. Why would they be like dyeing their hair all the time? And it has to do with a fragile sense of self. They're actually suffering. They're not exciting. They don't want to be exciting. Rather, they
that's why they're whores. They're whores, dude. That's what they are. They're designed to be whores. I mean, the best thing a borderline can do is have an OnlyFans account and basically dress up in various costumes. But even then, you'll spot them. I mean, what was it? Beckloff, who had this spot on Twitch, and he was like criticizing this chick for not knowing who Shredder was, yet she was dressed up as April fucking O'Neil. So a lot of these women, again, they will take up the iconography of any fandom or any religion, and they'll inject their own personal ideological poison into it. That's what we're dealing with. Whether it's, the ball field, the battlefield, heaven, hell, same thing. It just so happens that hell has now entered the fucking, it's entered the culture war, so to speak.
Really, really intense emotions that are hard to deal with. And if you're a normal or typical person, it's not, and you are approaching other people assuming that.
When you think about it, there's a lot about Ramona Flowers that is unclear. I haven't read the comic book, so I don't know what her full story is. But basically, she's always she's always been off and on with the guys. She's always in these relationships with these guys, but then ruining it every chance he has. And I'm wondering, I wonder if she was hurt in some way that makes her not want to commit to anyone. And then Scott all of a sudden changes that.
Because she's a borderline. That's what they do.
Well, no, I mean, what trauma or situation happened to her to make her borderline? Like, was she born a borderline, or did she become a borderline?
She's born a borderline. These people are irredeemable, mate.
Is that so? Like,
yeah,
they're not traumatized. They're not harmed. They're not destroyed or what?
Look, you can't. Look, you don't treat borderlines.
I'm not asking about treatment. I'm asking about causes.
Well, I would say early childhood trauma. Yeah. I would say hypersexualization as a child. That's one thing that could, what's it, life strategy, I think it is, like a fast life strategy versus like the R/K type of thing, right? So these type of people, a lot of these Marxists, even a lot of these nature worshipers, they weren't worshiping they were worshiping the fields. They were physically like praying to their gods and goddesses for their apples. And what's funny is that the pagans will probably, because not saying because they're pagans, but because they're Marxists, they will bring famine to you. They will literally bring famine to you. So
yeah, they do that. It's like one of their theories, which is the labor theory of value, is one of the first things they'll abandon because it doesn't work.
Yep. And of course, at the same time, their gods are fickle. So like, you have to kill this person right on this right day, or else you won't be able to smash the patriarchy on the proper day. But they'll still accept the blood at 24 days later, or 48 hours later. As long as you spilled the blood, it's all good. And you're just one more sacrifice from away from utopia. Here you go, Luke. But speaking of utopia, it's coming. For Alex Jones saw the light. Here you go.
Saw the light? What's this?
5 minutes in.
5 minutes in.
Yeah.
More mentioned in the Bible, and a lot of people don't really take a lot of time to understand those prophecies or to really kind of think through it. They do take time to go, Revelation's tough to understand. Revelation's difficult because there's all this imagery that's being used, and there's all this flowery language that I don't really understand. And we'll get into why some Christians have a bit of a problem with that. But it's important for you to know, because God spent about 8 times the time speaking about the second coming than he did the first coming. And obviously the first one was a big deal because it kind of saved people. Without the first coming, the second coming doesn't really quite matter that much, because we would all be under judgment, and I wouldn't want to be around for that anyway. But I guess my big question, Alex, is what made you start? So you talked about it a little bit. Was your grandfather, you said?
Yes.
So other than that, was there any influence, or was it just your grandfather's influence talking about eschatology that made you dive into it a little bit?
Well, I want to be 100% clear. I mean, the New World Order has brought us...
That's Alex's stage. They rewrote for the show.
They did, yes.
Well, the Bible's right, so that's why I'm way more interested. I mean, growing up, we went to church on Sundays, and then we would have Bible studies a lot of times at the house on Sunday night when my parents led. And I could watch if I wanted to and hang out there if I wanted to. That's going to be like 20 people there. But usually there'd be some other kids that run around outside. And we went to church on Wednesdays, and we went to a evangelical style, a pretty big church. And so I was just growing up with this as a background. And so it's kind of the back of your head.
Yeah.
And then my grandfather, once I moved to Austin, when I was in college and then had my job and already on air for a lot of years, he died about 12 years ago, my grandmother about 5 years ago, he was just constantly saying, watch, this is all going to be fulfilled. And he would get really upset when he'd see these preachers on TV setting a date. He would say, those people are deceived by setting a date. Then when it doesn't happen, that's going to make people fall away. That's a tool of the devil.
Right.
And he was just really, he said, comes like a thief in the night, no man knoweth, it's Christ of the hour of the return. And so then I've seen the left use that when these preachers get a bunch of attention saying it's this date for like a year, that it doesn't happen. Then they say, the Bible's disproven. The Bible says no one knows. And if they tell you they know, that person's bad.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's all there. And so the older you get, the more you know, this is incredible. Like, I get chills right now. So I want to be clear. I'm not Mr. Preacher, and I'm not holier than thou. I mean, I don't tell lies on purpose, and I don't sell out to evil, but I mean, I made the point about being hungover. That's probably why I was throwing up.
You don't side with evil. You don't side with evil, yet you're pushing the idea that we're in the end of days. You are evil. You are legitimately evil.
Did he say that this time, or what?
Yeah. He's saying that we're in the end of days, that the devil is here. The devil is, and he's saying the globalists, whatever the fuck that means, are the ones who are worshiping the devil and all this crap. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, but no, we're not in the end of days, Alex. I don't care about Revelation. Keep going.
Perfect. I'm on some high horses. So many people are turned off by the church because it's preaching a watered down Bible, and it's also just attacking people individually instead of showing the big picture. The devil's real, God's real. You better pick a side. And so people, that's why so much of the end times is it's here. And it's all being fulfilled. And the globalists are fulfilling it and saying, the future's not human. You will merge the machines. You will submit to all our social credit scores, our ESGs. You'll be tracked in live time. The Bible says everyone worldwide will see the image of the beast, talking to them at once. They'll worship it. And that's television, holograms.
Right.
I mean, it's like there's no way John Leon Patmos 2,000 years ago just made this up. There's no way Daniel just made it up or Ezekiel, and it's just all congruent, proving itself. And so if someone doesn't have the Holy Spirit of discernment, they read as much gibberish that once you actually are. Plus, we're living in the time. You said something.
Yeah, it's the Logos, Luke. He has the Logos. He has the enlightenment.
Gnosis.
He has the Gnosis. Yes, he does. He has a Gnosis to know that we're in the season of the end of days. Don't you know? This is one of the reasons why the right wing keeps losing, is because they keep fighting the final battle, when in reality the situation here is the battle has already been won, and we're just mopping up the rest of them. So don't worry about it. It may seem like a monumental task to take on the left, but it's easy. We've already won the battle. Now let's just mop up the rest of the enemy in the AO.
And that is, in the 70s and 80s, I mean, there I was, not just going to our church, but I would also go with my friends to their church. And it was like there were all these movies and films, and people were really awake. There's going to be a one world government, the peace system in Brussels, and a peace computer everywhere. It was everywhere. And then, once the 90s and the 2000s, and once it all started coming true, the preachers went, whoa. Because it's one thing to say, the Bible says it's coming, and then it's kind of like science fiction and really interesting. But now a lot of the preachers are like, whoa, I'm not going to scare the hell out of people. Which is actually, we should be celebrating and going, my gosh, our God is real. This is a warning. God gave us free will, but God also gave us a cheat sheet. And so like, hey kids, I want you to pass the test. Here's the, so if you pay attention, you will.
Oh, so he's arguing about end times that we can prevent.
Yep.
Oh,
we could stop Judgment Day.
So
we could literally stop Judgment Day.
So this is different than just prophesying, then.
Well, it's activism. How are we gonna stop the end times? How are we gonna stop the globalists? We side with Russia.
Well, this would make it he's like arguing an allegorical interpretation of Revelation, where every generation must be on guard from prevent this from the mark of the beast from occurring.
Yeah, it's dangerous shit.
I mean, I can see I can see the cultural use of that, but I don't know if it's the accurate way of reading it.
Well, it's the cultural use is being used to keep yourself in power. It's designed to do that. You know, that's what he's using it for. So if I'm a Christian now and I say I don't think we're in the end times, now I don't have the gnosis and I don't have the Holy Spirit. That's how he's setting this up. It's dangerous shit, dude. It's legitimately dangerous shit.
And so this is a big deal, and this is 100% real. And then I think about the experience I had in Dallas particularly, and then coming to Austin, and then being around Hollywood, which I'm trying to be in, but didn't want me to be in.
I feel like I'm missing the context of this conversation, because I want to know what we're setting up for. Does he actually say like what he's expecting, or what's like? I mean, Alex Jones has a long career where he's making a lot of predictions and prophecies, and so I want to know which one we're talking about.
And Devil is on Earth. Luciferianism, sex parties, the whole 9 yards. I never got into rituals, but I was picked up by chicks repeatedly trying to recruit me into things in Dallas and a decade later in Hollywood. Austin's more new age, not a lot of that here. But that's almost more a more creepy form of it. So I've really, I never fell away and said, I've denounced God and God isn't real, I'm an atheist. But I mean, I was in points in my life, I wasn't taking drugs really, but I was drinking and a lot of women and, and on a power trip and really prideful about how, I was, and I'd say I was kind of corrupt, let's say, maybe 14 to about 20. And then I kind of rediscovered God, and then the Holy Spirit much more stronger than I was saved when I was about 10. And then literally God started talking to me and showing me things, and and I would have dreams that came true and all these things, and I get stronger and stronger.
Meanwhile,
to where you can come up.
Again, who cares if it's the end times? We don't really care. We already know how this game ends. But for everybody talking about the end times, there's only a few people out there talking about what actually went down on January 6th with the pipe bombs.
And on the blaze of all things.
Yep.
I want to, as we're talking about how corrupt the federal government really is, I want to get into this new Blaze report that, by the way...
Only 4 years later, which kind of sucks, but yeah, at least they're talking about it.
Yep, and for those who want to know, Mudahar, Submarine Gamers, his thing is still up, and how long ago was that? How long ago did he post this shit? Back in what, December 2020?
When was it? 3 years ago, 2020, yeah, December, yeah, really fast.
That was before January 1st, 2021. 2020. And that means that the shit that was going on here with the USPS tracking numbers about the pipe bombs and the threats against the government officials, this was an inside job almost certainly. This proves it. It's 2020, not January 2021 or January 2021. So this shit goes all the way back to that time.
Twitter in general. But let's see what the newer comments say. I wasn't expecting the account to comment on this video. Or its old personality, but he's still cool. Knows where it's fine. Flamingo fan here. Here's nothing happened. Thanks God. Maybe Elon will shut down. Whatever.
So what does Glenn Beck have to say?
You guys have
not just his staff, not him.
Subscribed over at theblaze.com. They're doing really amazing investigative work over there, not just on January 6th, but on
and
many more.
Look, we have a YouTube community note. How thoughtful.
Yep.
Thanks. So make sure you're subscribed.
Just to try to just to let us know that they're on the right track.
Steve Baker, our very own Steve Baker, released a report today on the, we never found out anything about the DNC and RNC pipe bombs.
Yes.
Never found out about any of the surrounding information. Well, and I want to play. So remember, it was like 1 p.m. on January 6th, a masked man with a backpack approaches the cop cars and then says something and then walks away reporting that there's a pipe bomb, and then all of a sudden, seconds later, they find it. Let's play some of that.
Can I say one thing before you play it? Because it's important. There was a massive cover-up. This is outside the party headquarters. The surveillance tape, when they went to look for who was there, the DOJ, when they released it, had edited the surveillance tape. And they released an edited version so you couldn't see who dropped the pipe bomb, which is a cover-up.
Yeah.
So you have that, and then this.
And now this. So let's watch the incident, and then more on that.
You'll see him come into view. He goes to one police car. He goes to another police car. He's holding a backpack. He's got a mask on. He's talking to the police. And within a minute, they start scrambling. You'll see the camera turn to the pipe bomb, the location of the pipe bomb. By the way, that's I believe the Metro police are now getting out of the car, and that's Vice President-elect Detail in the black SUV, I believe, parked about 30 feet from the pipe bomb, eating lunch. Okay, now we go over to the location of the pipe bomb. The cameras are scrambling. It appears to me that that's not a coincidence.
Yeah, not a coincidence, I would say. So it turns out that person who approached the vehicles was a U.S. Capitol policeman in plain clothes. So
did he have the backpack as he approached the vehicle and then went and put it back? Is that what happened?
There was a backpack.
That's what the guy said. The narrator was saying, "Look, he has the backpack."
And so let me add a couple more interesting tidbits about this. So Vice President Kamala Harris arrived there 90 minutes prior. Now she was supposed to go to the Capitol to participate in the certification of the the electoral college votes.
Pause it. Go back to Munahar's video, please. Munahar's video, and I want to say, go in when he starts talking about the tweets. Past that, yeah, right here.
Kind of interests me. It does get kind of dark, so let's get into it. Now, this is a piece of the content that was actually captured to me at like 4 in the morning. I was screenshotting it like crazy. Now, the banner image is something that I'm going to have to censor because it does have, it's a statue with like obvious parts, but it is a pentagram with a swirly cooch. I would say it really confuses the heck out of people. This
feminist bombed the Capitol. Feminist bombed the Capitol, Luke.
ISIS Genesis.
Yeah. So right around, I want to say, 4 minutes and 10 seconds in. There we go.
Well, here's the next post here from 2 days ago, well, at least at the time I screen capped. This is what's up USPS tracking numbers, and this is quote tweeting an account that says President-elect blah, 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 something. And as far as I can tell, this is just a political account, not going to into it. The response is several USPS tracking numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And I believe the last 3 might be international tracking numbers. But what are these tracking numbers to? Are these even legitimate? And that's what gets really fucking scary. If you start looking at the USPS website and you start actually looking at they're pretty stacked with deliveries right now, obviously being the holiday season. The tracking numbers actually make sense. Now, they're not giving actual addresses that they've been sent to. They're just giving the state, the obviously Washington District of Columbia, and a generic sort of zip code. Zip codes in the United States could include multiple addresses. It's just a general location. If you want the history of zip codes, well, there's a whole there's a tab. You can
9 minutes and 25 seconds in.
There. Now it says delivered to the front desk, reception, and mailroom. Right. Now, if you look at the other accounts, right, so these are different numbers. This one's throughout the hashtag Kenna Bosoms Tribal Nations Rising. This, I believe, is a family, a tribal group in the United States, Native Americans, so to speak, right, indigenous people. So this is like all related to them. And this quote tweet is all about the government.
Fuck, the Wiccans might have done it. But now, again, if let's say it was a cover up, right, and you have all these fucking, the tracking numbers were with it, and they have pipe bombs. Again, I hate to be the guy that says this. How often do we get attacked at the Capitol, right? Like since Biden's taken office, I could think of only three examples of when the Capitol was attacked, where we had a guy who literally did like a bomb threat. Then we had the pipe bombs here, and then we have like a bunch of other supposed things that have been going on at the Capitol. But again, this is 2020, right? This is during the like way before January 6th. So this shit was happening on way before that the whole thing was going down. So how much of this is actually related to it, and how much of it is just like background noise, cultural background noise, so to speak. Keep going back to the Blaze.
Some reason she was there at the DNC headquarters. Nobody knows why, and her presence at the building was not revealed for an entire year. Why is that? Because then, when you talk about Kamala Harris being...
Yeah, it would have been something to milk, because if they said that, oh, this was a MAGA bomb, and like they never mentioned it until now. Like, huh? How come you didn't use this? Like, almost as if they're trying to hide something from us.
It's almost like maybe it's a crazy, a left-wing conspiracy theorist who believes in killing the patriarchy by, destroying all civilization or some shit like that.
There. How did the Secret Service, who is doing bomb sweeps and all these things, how did the Secret Service fail?
The thing we just always remember about Gnostics and Hermetic traditions is that they leave open an opportunity for melomaniacal psychopaths.
Yep. That's one of the...
megalomaniacal psychopaths, that's the word.
Yeah, exactly. And how many of these people are actually like true believers, and how many of them are just being useful idiots to be fall guys? Because I'll tell you this, for all we know, the federal government framed a bunch of people that they have on the payroll, designed specifically as fall guys, and they're all pagans, and so no one really wants to hear the witch out and give the devil its due. Because for all we know, again, from what I see, it looks more and more like it's the FBI on the inside job, so to speak. But the problem here is that the more we look at it, it looks more and more like that actually might be true. There might be something going on that is being sanctioned by the government, or at least allowed to happen. And it's not MAGA that's doing this. MAGA's not the one who pushes this shit. It's the left. Keep going.
Well, even QAnon doesn't push this stuff.
Yeah.
Prior to Harris's arrival. Why did operators in the Capitol Police Command Center deliberately redirect CCTV cameras away from the pipe bomb investigation and detonation? Why did the Secret Service agent and MPD officer feel safe enough to finish their lunch before investigating a pipe bomb 15 feet away? And of course, was the DNC pipe bomb really a viable device despite never before seen video evidence to the contrary?
I don't think it was a real device in the end. I don't think it was. And so I'm still trying to figure out why they would plant it there. What was the motivation of planting it? Because all the evidence to me that I've seen looks like it was planted there, and this on top of it, it looks clear that it was planted there, like the cops do what they were doing.
And someone else made this observation. Even though it wasn't a real device, it had the material that was used by the FBI in their practices. Like almost exactly the timers and the shape of the pipe bomb is the same thing that they use. Like, and what a coincidence.
What I think it is I think that the FBI did this. The FBI is the one involved. I do believe that to be the case. I think it was an inside job.
But why? What was the motivation other than to make it look like we were the extremists, Republicans, outside DNC?
Yeah, absolutely. It's to frame the other side, to say, look at what they want to do to us. Look, see, they are.
But then why outside the RNC?
Exactly. There was one outside the RNC, too. I can't figure out the motivation.
Well, we may not ever know it because it may have never come to fruition. They may have had some sort of half-baked plan and then decided it wasn't going to work, and therefore now we have to cover it up and never talk about it again because our plan sucked.
But you think they might have detonated it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying it's just... A Capitol policeman who we already know, the Capitol Police, let's talk about how the Capitol Police acted on January 6th, right? Something's going on there. So you're telling me it's just a coincidence that the Capitol Police was like, hey guys, I think there's a pipe bomb over there you might want to check out, and then everyone's just super casual about it? And on top of that, the questions that the article already posed that I was reading right here about why do the operators redirect CCTV cameras away from, there are way too many coincidences here for there to not be, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah, look,
and Washington, D.C. is one of the most secure areas in the entire country with security cameras and guards almost everywhere. There's literally nothing they could do without conspiracy being justified.
Yeah, and at the same time, going back to Mutahar's video, they threatened Kamala Harris, they threatened Joe Biden, they threatened Pompeo, they threatened Miller, they threatened Trump. All these bombs were designed specifically for everybody. So what was this designed to do? What was the end goal here? To make everybody on edge? Possibly. These were real tracking numbers. These were real, bomb threats that were made. And, we're not allowed to look at it. Smells like this could be a red herring or what have you. But let's, again, I do think that there's stuff going on. And I do believe that, our country could very well have been, seized in that regard. If not by the left or the right, but by the fucking government itself. By the people, not even the deep. I don't even want to use the term deep state because that just gives too much of that's too vague. By the fucking by the feds and by the CIA, even if you want to. Go on.
Absolutely, and all valid questions. And I'll say the issue of RNC and DNC, why both? It matters, but it doesn't to the anarchists. It doesn't matter. They will blame the right.
Yeah.
Right. They will blame the right. You could. If there was one only at the RNC building, they would say, "See, they're extremists." I mean, it doesn't matter. You're damned if you do. You're damned if you don't. In the eyes of that side of the political aisle.
I mean, I know we don't like Razor Fist on this channel, but he did raise this very good point in this interview, though.
In values
would save the country, or is a total restructuring in order?
We came really close to a moment where we could have reoriented states' rights to the center of government, and it was just in the past few years. This is why January 6th scared the living shit out of Washington. Yeah. It wasn't because of a bunch of grannies waving Walmart flags or a bunch of boomers with bear spray. It was because if Mike Pence had pulled the trigger, then we would have sent the election back to the state house delegations, and the states, as is supposed to be the proper procedure, would have decided whether Biden was the president or not. Now, mind you, I think they probably would have decided he was. But that would have been the single largest power grab back to the state level from the federal level in like 100 years. And that honestly is why they still demonize January 6th. And it's hilarious because it would have been benign for their political purposes.
Yeah. And it makes sense that the FBI, that being said, the FBI would be doing this, and they'd be using the junky fucking SJW types to be the fall guys. Yeah. So, this is why you don't hang out with these people, because occult religions tend to have an occult hierarchy behind them.
Oh, that actually reminds me of a scene from the Spawn HBO animated series. You ever seen that?
We could talk about it. That actually would be a nice wrap up for everything, because Keith David is also in that film.
Well, yeah, that too. And but there's a scene where the military industrial complex guy, who I forget his name, but he's having a conversation with the mafioso guy he used to assassinate some media men, because the media discovered like a scandal with one of their political figures that the military man wanted to use to advance his own career, and he calls it, "Is it done? The newsmen have been dealt with. What do you use? Mafia elements, nothing traceable. Like, and what better way to cover up a bombing than using a wicked nut job?"
Exactly. What better? And by the way, they're feminists, right? So now we can actually give a little bit of credence. In a lot of ways, you could very well say that the feminist would be a perfect fall guy, because there actually is shit like the Scum Manifesto. There actually is stuff out there, and they get to then they get to actually test their might and see if they actually if their freedom of religion holds muster. Because you have James Lindsay calling them out for saying they're Gnostics, right? We might very well get a holy war. Who knows?
Like, I mean, regardless of with his whole, I mean, I don't know if the last 4 years have basically put me in kind of political stasis, but I'm now convinced that regardless of who wins the next election, Trump or Biden or whoever they're running, America is never going to be the same. Like, America is on the verge of something. Like, everyone, in a political internet mindset, everyone's on the verge, hair triggers at this point, and they're just looking for an excuse to fire them.
Yep. Oh yeah.
But what bothers me though, you can go back to the Boston City Marathon pipe bomb, and those bombs, right? And then years later it comes out, some guy walked into an apartment and saw the pipe bomb. There's always somebody that knows something. Yeah. And somehow, on the left, they very quickly ring fence it, turn cameras, silence people, coerce them, bribe them, force them, threaten them or somehow, and they have this ability to suppress information very quickly. Very quickly, and then you never get the truth.
Well, only yesterday the DOJ said Hunter laptop's real.
Right.
And it finally comes out like yesterday. Yeah, yesterday.
Speaking of things that you get censored on social media for saying.
Right, exactly. And so, I don't know if we're ever going to know the answers of January 6th. Right. But when you talk about suppression, most of America has never heard of the pipe bomb story. Okay, most of America just say pipe bomb. They don't even know what you're talking about. And many conservatives are going to say they don't even know what you're talking about the pipe bomb.
Most of them don't even know about the occult bullshit that's going on behind it either. But we're like the only people talking about this shit. Mudahar, say what you will about him as a YouTuber, right? He has 3 million subscribers. He made one video about it, and he may have been, lucky, but he's more correct about it than the rest of us. Like, there's actual death threats being made towards these people, and they found pipe bombs. So how much of this shit is real?
I mean, just recently I was doing some research on the cult and imagery. I mean, there are a lot more channels just describing and normalizing the occult and pagan imagery than there is people like James Lindsay criticizing it. And other than James Lindsay, there may be an offshoot Christian channel in very boomer fashion denouncing it. But there's a lot more content out there normalizing and describing it for the masses to consume at this point.
The Addams family have taken over. The Addams family brought the Mordor family into the point where they just tried to get cultural hegemony. There's a reason why I have the Goths sacking Rome, because that's what's happening. The Goths have sacked Rome. They're sacking our country. They say what you will about the fucking the SJWs in high school. The Goths are the ones who are doing this shit. They're enabling it. They are so accepting and loving that they've been absorbed into the collective. I don't know.
Before we do that, let me get that on the Goths sacking Rome.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can get that on the screen here.
Because I'm almost done here, because I think we've gone on long enough.
There they are.
There we go. That's very nice.
Very anime-ish.
Anyhow,
America is going to think that January 6th was the West Terrace only, where it was, I call it a little rough. They were pushing and pulling, but then you had people fixing each other's helmets. But then on the east side of the Capitol, you literally had Capitol Police giving tours.
Yes,
guided tours of the Capitol. So no one ever hears the stuff that there was fencing there, and an hour before everybody gets the fencing comes down. The don't enter here. The doors open up miraculously. People are let in. You have people going up the scaffolding, yelling, go inside. Those people are never arrested, but everybody else is. All these things are stories that the American public never hears.
Yeah.
Because something happened that day. Was it a setup job? To me, it looks like it. But I really want to know the truth is what I want. I just want answers.
That's the thing. We are speculating, and you're left to speculation. You're left to assumption because they are not...
Nothing adds up, I'll tell you
that.
Exactly.
Something stinks, okay? We made to Grant's point, we may not ever know the truth, but something severely stinks about that entire day.
Yeah, and it's probably sulfur, unfortunately.
Ugh.
Luke, final thoughts?
You absolutely cannot build weapons in this hotel. No one is trying to kill you. People are being nice because they want you to feel welcome.
I have my doubts.
Well, like the Eagles said, you could check out any time you like, but you can never leave. And they weren't talking about the devil, by the way. That's the rumor. Ladies and gentlemen, be good to one another, take care of one another. Remember, saving the West is a side quest. This is the Renegade podcast.